102.1 History of Earth Cycles. Hello and welcome to the Cosmic Experience of One. This is an awareness expanding course that should be absorbed in order. Like a university course, this course's information builds upon itself, so you would be doing yourself a disservice if you took it in out of order. If you do not watch it in order, you might not comprehend the material, or worse, you will think you fully understood it and walk away with a skewed interpretation. Do yourself a favor and first view 101.1, 101.2, 101.3, and 101.4, which are all in one video that starts with an introduction to this course. Then continue on in viewing the subjects in order. The introduction to this course needs to be taken in first in order to know the nature of this awareness expanding course. Think of this course as a book where you will not understand it fully if you do not read the chapters in order, chapter 1 being the introduction that is imperative to take in first. So please click on the link in the description section under this video to view the first video. We will summarize planet Earth's three major cycles which make up a grand cycle. A major cycle for Earth is approximately 25,170 years. Three major cycles make up a grand cycle, which for Earth is approximately 75,510 years. At the end of a grand cycle, there is the harvest time. When Earth transitioned into a third density core planet approximately in 73,498 BCE, the advanced enough beings of the later second subdensity species of apes were selected by the Logos/star to rapidly evolve and transition into third density beings, the primitive beginnings of the human being. We have already spoken of this transition and rapid evolution. These transitioning later second subdensity apes into early third subdensity primitive human beings make up approximately 20% of Earth's third density population when Earth became a third density core planet at the beginning of the grand cycle. Approximately 31% of Earth's third density population came from other planets and incarnated onto Earth through the typical birthing process from the transitioning apes to primitive human beings. These beings were ready to start the third density experience, but their second density core planet was not ready or not able to transition to third density, so they started their third density experience on Earth. Approximately 49% of Earth's third density population did not incarnate onto Earth in the usual manner. These beings were originally from Mars. After making their planet inhospitable by ways of war during their third density experience and transitioning/dying, they spent much time healing in the inner planes and learning about their choices. The local guardians at the time decided to genetically adjust/assist what was the Mars beings' physical bodies with a guardian's genetics and genetics from apes on Earth so the post-Mars beings could continue their third density experience on planet Earth. This mixing of genetic stock is common, but it is rare for a confederation of planets to utilize this method to alter the physical body of a species of third density beings so they can function properly on a different planet. Rare measures were decided upon because the situation that needed a solution was itself rare. The first major cycle on Earth was approximately from 73,498 BCE to 48,328 BCE. The different groups of beings mentioned lived isolated from each other in different locations on the planet. Since there were far fewer third density beings on Earth at the time, and advanced ways of traveling had not been invented yet, the isolation of civilizations was typical for that time. The average planetary lifespan was 900 years, which is typical for beings starting the third density experience. The lifespan starts at an average of 900 years and then decreases if the mantle of responsibility attained from growth is abandoned or ignored, which it typically is to some degree for third density planets. This abandoning or ignoring creates a level of stress for the third density beings, so breaks from the third density experience are needed more frequently in the inner planes. The alleviation of stress is achieved by decreasing the duration of the lifespan. A being is not given an experience beyond what they can handle, so as more disharmony arises, such as warring, violence, dysfunctional ways of living, and strained interactions between beings, the average lifespan for incarnations reduces. As is usual, the seeds are planted and given time and experiences for free will to naturally grow and evolve the mind, body, and spirit of each being. The local confederation of planets did not assist beyond general caretaking, as there was no call for assistance, with an exception we will cover later, which is typical in the infancy of a third density experience starting out at the baseline of self-awareness. Beings at this early stage, having recently come from the second density experience, are still animalistic in their ways, and their tribes focus on survival. Beings gradually become aware of other needs and wants beyond survival, such as companionship, cleanliness, beauty, humor, and exploration. As more third density incarnations are experienced by the beings, their needs and wants continue to expand beyond the animalistic, refining mannerisms, creating more efficiently functioning civilizations, striving to know and understand their particular landmass, and giving and receiving universal love. Sometimes an entire grand cycle of the third density experience can run its own course without any direct contact aid from their local confederation of planets. In approximately 58,280 BCE, words shown on screen are fourth density negatives attempted to offer the ways of service to self to some of these tribes and civilizations after scanning their societal minds from off-planet to find effective temptations to utilize. Then they attempted to inspire separation by way of power infused in thought-created structures and rock formations in different areas of the planet where tribes lived. But they were unsuccessful because the temptations offered were not received. The only great civilization established in the first major cycle was Lemuria, also known as Mu, as they called the landmass / continent they resided on Mu, and it was situated in your present-day Pacific Ocean. The beings in this civilization originated from the same planet and were part of the approximately 31% that came from different planets. Their original second density core planet that orbits what Earthlings call the Deneb star found in the Cygnus constellation could not transition to a third density core planet due to the age of the Deneb's Logos / star, so they began their third density experience on planet Earth. Lemuria was not technologically advanced and would be considered primitive by present-day Earthling standards. Lemuria, like the other civilizations around the planet at the time, used simple tools they made out of wood and rock. It was not a warlike or hostile civilization, but rather a friendly and harmonious civilization that became very spiritually advanced. The harmonious nature and positive intentions of these beings prompted telepathic assistance from the local confederation of planets when they established an adequate mass calling for assistance in their spiritual seeking, the exception we noted earlier. The mass calling was answered with telepathic assistance. The beings mostly did not know the beneficial thoughts came from outside of their own minds. This indirect assistance carried on from Lemuria's humble beginnings in approximately 57,960 BCE, where their spirituality advanced steadily, to the end of their civilization when the Mu continent sank underwater due to geological changes at the end of the first major cycle in approximately 48,328 BCE. The Mu continent started shifting geologically due to tectonic plate movements about 3,080 years before the end of the first major cycle, and the influx of energy from the Logos/Sun that happens at the end of every major cycle naturally quickened the geological adjustment, causing the Mu continent to rapidly finalize its adjustment and sink deep underwater. Due to their unity and teamwork, most of the Lemurians survived. They used simple boats and reached what is today the continents of North and South America. The beings you call Native Americans are the descendants of Lemuria. Some of these beings continued migrating across a land bridge which used to connect the continents of North America and Asia, where they traveled to what is presently called Russia and then China. They, along with other groups that migrated, gradually evolved physically to suit the climate and area of the planet they resided in, altering the color of their skin as well as other minor physical changes. The Oriental/Asian races of present-day China, Japan, Korea, and Taiwan are all descendants of Lemuria. By the end of the first major cycle, the average planetary lifespan had decreased to 680 years due to some inharmonious relations between beings on the planet that were not of the Lemurian civilization. Some later second subdensity beings on Earth advanced enough to graduate and incarnate as third density beings throughout the first major cycle, increasing Earth's third density population by the end of the first major cycle. Since the beginnings of the first major cycle are the early stages of the third density experience, beings reincarnated automatically, still focusing on baseline lessons and so not needing time to review and plan for their next incarnation. By the end of the first major cycle on Earth, a little over half of the third density beings had at some point activated their green ray heart chakra, which prompted time in the inner planes for reviewing their last incarnation and learning and preparing for the next incarnation. When reincarnation is no longer automatic, the beings prepare and make life agreements with other beings for their next incarnation with the assistance of their higher self and other guides in the inner planes. 0 third density beings graduated to fourth density at the end of the first major cycle. The second major cycle on Earth was approximately from 48,328 BCE to 23,158 BCE. During this major cycle, there were no great civilizations established like that of Lemuria, but some of the Lemurian descendants who migrated to what is present-day China made some notable advances in their civilization. In this major cycle, most civilizations transitioned from a barter and trade system to a type of monetary system, which offered major temptation for separation, The few who saw themselves as superior started manipulating the majority with this new dysfunctional tool. Most groups remained isolated from each other, but some tribes and civilizations started exploring further, which led to some warfare. Warfare between tribes and civilizations and monetary systems were responsible for the emerging idea of ownership of human beings, both individuals and conquered groups becoming slaves. Despite these issues, a good percentage more of beings throughout the planet began activating their green ray heart chakra at some point in their incarnations, and some engaged it more fully and balanced this energy center partially or adequately. The most notable of which was the spiritual advancement of a group in present-day South America who practiced high levels of universal love and service to others to the point that some of them were ready to graduate to fourth density positive. Approximately in 43,720 BCE, a great influx of incarnations on Earth occurred by way of genetic preparation assistance by the local guardians. Third density beings from a planet called Maldek, also known as Tiamat, which no longer exists due to warfare, started incarnating within Earth in a physical body similar to later second subdensity animals, so that these third density beings could have the opportunity to balance out their heavy karma for destroying their planet. In your current time, they are known as beings called Bigfoot. They live deep below the surface in pathways and open spaces and rarely come onto the surface of the planet. We will expand upon them and planet Maldek in a subject about your solar system's history. After having incarnated within Earth as the entities known as Bigfoot, the post-Maldek beings produced a mass calling for help in their confused state. Love and light energy was sent to them by beings in the local confederation of planets, whose roles are focused on sending love and light energy to beings who make the mental calling for aid. Despite not recognizing this aid, the post-Maldek beings gradually made progress at balancing their karma throughout the tens of thousands of years. By the end of the second major cycle, the average planetary lifespan had decreased to being approximately the same as in your current time due to continuous and major inharmonious relations between beings. Red ray chakra lessons of anger and fear that led to violence and war. Orange ray chakra lessons of dysfunctional relationships between individuals. And yellow ray chakra lessons of aggressive and controlling relationships between tribes and groups within tribes. When beings activate their green ray heart chakra, they take on the mantle of responsibility. Like a child who has grown old enough to know better than to perform negative actions against others but does it anyway, they are corrected by their parents. This is not a punishment or judgment. It assists the being in their present and in their future incarnations. A being is not given more than they can handle for an incarnation. The recognition of hostile actions by beings, no longer being innocent like a child who does not know better, causing suffering in many ways, hostile acts, warlike acts, slavery, superior acts through ways of a monetary system or otherwise, selfish acts, creates more than a being can handle in a long lifespan. Since there was still isolation between most tribes and civilizations, beings in harmonious and less hostile tribes and civilizations lived a longer lifespan than others. Some of the beings in the South American group, with those who graduated, were still living a lifespan up to 900 years. The determination of the lifespan is not an entire planetary circumstance, but a being-by-being case. But even healthy, positively oriented beings living under the conditions of an inharmonious society are exposed to suffering and therefore have a shorter lifespan. If there was an isolated group on planet Earth in your present time that lived very harmoniously and healthily, they could have a lifespan from 200 to 500 years. They still would not come close to living a 900-year lifespan, because even with complete physical isolation, the group would still be subjected to contaminated air and water that has become a planetary issue. The contamination of your oceans is no mystery for Earthlings, but some of the ways of contaminating the air, which also results in the contamination of the lands and oceans and all that live on and in them, is not known or believed by most Earthlings. Besides the burning of fossil fuels, which is known to be a problem on your planet, the word shown on screen uses the highly negatively oriented third-density human beings as tools and manipulated them into constantly releasing by plane what has been called word shown on screen by human beings. The reasons for this poisonous action the word shown on screen gave to these so-called elites, and the reasons the so-called elites gave to all that carry out their orders in making it happen, are varied deceptions and lies. The main reason is to poison and make weaker human beings so they are easier to manipulate and control, as a healthy being is harder to control. Another planetary issue impacting the theoretical, isolated, harmonious group in your present time that would lessen their lifespan would be the mental pollution created by billions of beings that affects the planetary vibration and is similar to an ailment upon the Earth and the beings inhabiting the Earth. This effect is quite significant since it involves billions of human beings instead of the far fewer population during the second major cycle. Thoughts are creations just as actions are, and they have a great effect on physical matter and other minds. Most human beings do not know this. All fourth density beings know this very well and can create physical matter out of thin air with group-focused thought. More later second subdensity beings on Earth advanced enough to graduate and incarnate as third density beings throughout the second major cycle, increasing Earth's third density population up to the end of the second major cycle. 148 third density beings graduated to fourth density positive at the end of the second major cycle, but they all chose to keep reincarnating onto third density Earth in order to assist others in doing the same for the next and last major cycle. The 148 were all beings from the South American group we spoke of. The third major cycle on Earth, which completes the grand cycle, was approximately from 23,158 BCE to 2012 CE. The harmonious and spiritually advanced civilization known as the Mayans were accurate with their calendar's end date, as the grand cycle's end was originally set for approximately 2012/2013 CE, but the Logos/Sun's activities have been delayed 2 solar cycles, approximately 22 years, due to very rare circumstances. This holding back by the Logos/Sun delayed its major influx of energy activities that happen at the end of every major cycle, which have been delayed to approximately 2034 CE, the delayed end of Earth's third density grand cycle. This delay of a Logos/star's influx of energy is an extremely rare occurrence, as when a cycle or gear in the cosmic clock hits upon the hour with precision, The corresponding logos / star is energetically activated and produces an activity that some on Earth call a micronova, or a word shown on screen, which occurs at the end of every major cycle. The local council and guardians decided that the delay would greatly assist Earthlings and the Earth transitional period into fourth density, so they confided with the logos / sun, who agreed, and the delay was approved. Since Earth is the only planet with natural third density life origins in your solar system at present, this delay was an option because there was no other third density beings originating from other planets who would be affected by the delay. There is also the matter of 3 planets worth of beings in your solar system, Maldek, Mars, and Earth, as well as beings from many other planetary origins, experiencing planet Earth at the same time. That adds focus and consideration to Earth's transition to fourth density positive. The great civilization of Atlantis occurred in this major cycle, the third and last major cycle. Other than your current civilizations, it was the most technologically advanced. It was more spiritually advanced than your current civilizations, with the exception of the Tibetan civilization before China was influenced to conquer it, and also more technologically advanced in some ways. Atlantis's humble beginnings started in the second major cycle in approximately 32,500 BCE. It was a civilization diverse in races that worked together harmoniously. By approximately 13,750 BCE, Atlantis had grown to be quite technologically and spiritually advanced. It was around this time that an Atlantean mass calling of positive intentions was received by the local confederation of planets. The decided action to respond to this mass calling was through traditional channeling of information, which offered the Atlanteans information that aided them further in their technological and spiritual advancement because they had demonstrated responsibility over their technological advancements. In approximately 10,740 BCE, Atlanteans had advanced even further as a harmonious civilization due to their channeled information. At this time, another mass calling prompted a later 6th subdensity united group to offer aid. Their case was presented and approved by the council, so they sent a few of their beings to walk among them and made their physical bodies visible to further assist in the Atlanteans' advancement by guiding the construction of pyramid structures and utilizing crystal technology. Like the Great Pyramid in Giza, Egypt, which was constructed by a different later 6th subdensity united group, assisting the Egyptians, the Atlantean pyramids were of a certain height, shape, ratio, and orientation so their harnessed energetic powers could be used for healing and learning. Those who were fit for the role of healing by opening up a pathway from source energy and activating crystals, due to having done the inner work to adequately balance their chakras more than others, were taught how to adequately balance their remaining chakras so they could activate crystals within the pyramids and channel healing energy from source to members of their civilization and provide them with learning opportunities by ways of accessing aspects of the tree of mind in the pyramids. These healers, and all who have been healers throughout time, do not heal by themselves. They have adequately balanced chakras and have learned how to open up a pathway to and from source so that source energy may work through them and heal the one who is the willing receiver. If the defect wanting to be healed is a pre-incarnate plan defect, it will not be healed for the benefit of the being. The later 6 subdensity united group aiding the Atlanteans had been assisted in the same way by a later 6 subdensity united group when they were 3rd density beings. It had been effective for them, so they were using the same method to aid the Atlanteans. After the pyramids had been constructed, pyramid healers taught, and all was running effectively and harmoniously, the later 6 subdensity beings departed. The Atlantis civilization advanced greatly from the aid of the pyramid structures and crystal knowledge. Nuclear power was invented and later replaced by cleaner crystal technology to power their civilization. Slowly, the pyramid and crystal technology started to be used unwisely by some in ways that were more leaning towards service to self. The pyramid healers, having learned how to tap into source energy from the indigo ray chakra through the violet ray chakra, learned how to create beings by way of genetics and cloning. Curious to see how far their experimentation could take them, they created a serving caste of half-human, half-animal beings to do their civilization's daily chores. These beings are spoken of in your Greek myths. Some question the ethical nature of their creation, but the majority ignored the ethical concerns. The caste beings were treated with enough kindness so they would perform their duties. The civilization started focusing on creating these beings and using their knowledge in other less harmonious ways, shifting their attention away from the original reasons the pyramid structures and crystal technology had been provided, advancing the individuals of their civilization in service to others' ways of healing and learning that would further expand the awareness and spirituality of the civilization's collective. A faction of the Atlanteans were further telepathically tempted by the words shown on screen over time and grew heavily towards service to self ways. Thus, a separation in the intentions and unity of Atlanteans became great. Many of the corrupted Atlanteans acquired positions within the Atlantean government, which had grown in size and power and turned toward gaining more power and control over the majority instead of serving them, which also stemmed from telepathic temptations by negative 4th density beings. The government officials had developed opposing factions, as separation is a common development when service to self intentions and actions arise. These occurrences could be seen as the beginning of Atlantis' downfall. When opportunity is given by positive higher density beings create the advancement of 3rd density beings, negative higher density beings have the opportunity to offer their services in return, and vice versa. When a chess piece from the white or black team is moved by a player within a team, a corresponding move is made by a chess player in the opposite team. This does not mean either side's offer will be received, but the opportunity is always given. In approximately 9330 BCE, the Atlantean faction's tension had grown considerably and started warring with each other, resulting in the transition/death of 37% of Atlantis' population. This caused some of the positively oriented Atlanteans to flee their continent and migrate to high-altitude locations of what is known today as Tibet, Turkey, and Peru. Some neutrally oriented Atlanteans migrated off the Atlantic continent and established a colony civilization in what today is in the North African Sahara Desert. The land formation that has been called the Richat structure, also known as the Eye of the Sahara, is where this Atlantean colony once resided. In approximately 8,840 BCE, the Atlantean faction started warring again, carelessly using nuclear bombs and crystal weapons against each other. They used crystal technology to penetrate deep into the earth and produced earthquakes of immense intensity and destruction as weapons against each other. This caused immense geologic tension that resulted in most of the Atlantic continent sinking below the ocean. In approximately 7,717 BCE, the Atlantean factions started battling each other again. The North African colony and the area around it was destroyed by several powerful nuclear bombs and other advanced technology, and the remaining Atlantic landmass sank far below the ocean due to words shown on screen. Atlantis and its colonies were no more. Almost all of their technology and knowledge gone by way of nuclear bombs and sinking to the depths of the ocean. Survivors migrated east and joined more primitive civilizations in what is known today as Egypt, Italy, Greece, and other locations. The Atlantic Ocean, which was named such by Atlanteans, had now considerably grown in size due to the sinking of the continent where Atlantis resided. The once harmonious and peaceful civilization had slowly grown sour and then very hostile by not honoring the responsibility of their technological might. Similar types of technology that Atlantis had access to, if used even more carelessly, could blow up an entire planet instead of only sinking a continent. And there is an example of this happening in your solar system, which we will cover in a later subject. This is a fine warning for present-day civilizations on Earth, which have many factions, secret organizations, and secret societies operating separately from nations and their governments, and that have followed in the footsteps of Atlantis' technology and have clandestinely, knowing the public would be against their actions and to keep it secret from their enemies, created their own. A whole lot of words shown on screen they have created and released intentionally. This is only naming a small amount of hidden capabilities and technology on Earth that is potentially very dangerous and heavily service to self-oriented. There is also a large amount of hidden potentially positive technology. This suppressed technology from even many decades ago could solve all major and minor problems on the planet and quickly advance the planet toward a utopian-like existence if hostile ways are abandoned and some degree of unity is established. Here we have yet another case of separation, in this case major, working against planetary beings instead of practicing unity and transparency that would advance the planetary collective, both technologically and spiritually. This suppression of technology and knowledge acts as a major hindrance in holding back the majority from working towards graduating to fourth density. Many of the half-human, half-animal Atlantean created beings survived the sinking of the Atlantic continent and migrated east along with the surviving Atlanteans. These centaurs, minotaurs, harpies, mermaids, gorgons, sirens, and others are spoken of in your Greek, Roman, and other civilizations' myths. There are almost always some facts in your myths. As represented in the myths, these beings were hostile toward human beings due to being abused and killed by the less civil human beings in the civilizations they had migrated to, so they sought isolation from human beings. Atlas and the Titans were invented Greek myths about Atlanteans and their so-called mighty gods. It is no surprise that the ancient Greek accounts have all been labeled myths, as the tall tales of the one known as Heracles/Hercules and other Greek heroes whose legends were used to bolster a civilization's standing in morale, as well as make their enemies tremble, are purely fictional or grossly misinterpreted. These half-human, half-animal beings were hunted down and exterminated off the surface of the planet throughout the centuries, but some mermaids are still in existence, keeping to themselves. From approximately 10,000 BCE to 1000 BCE, different positive higher density united groups assisted many civilizations around the planet, resulting in a total of 58 pyramids for healing and learning aid to human beings. 6 of these pyramids, having been placed on planetary ley lines, were also for balancing the planetary body, Earth, so the inpouring of potentially unbalanced energy could be transmuted to a degree. Some civilizations kept building their own pyramids long after higher density aid departed, but they are mostly less effective pyramids due to design flaws. This happened extensively in locations known as South America and Central America. Since the end of the grand cycle was approaching and there were extremely few beings who had been able to graduate to 4th density, the local confederation of planets became concerned and decided to use the pyramid structures in an attempt to offer more opportunities for advancement, which could lead to graduation. One of the benefits of the pyramids is a longer lifespan, which human beings could have used for more opportunities to grow and advance toward graduation instead of being stuck in a short lifespan, transitioning and reincarnating over and over again while being perpetually stuck in a spiritual infancy due to the veil of forgetfulness of 3rd density. The aid of the pyramids had worked on other planets before the Atlanteans had shown in their beginnings that it was potentially beneficial for human beings. Now there is no need for a longer average lifespan because the harvest time is just around the corner. We will speak of 2 of the civilizations besides Atlantis where positive higher density united groups assisted with pyramid structures and crystal activation to be used within the pyramids. The Egyptians were one of the civilizations. In approximately 8600 BCE, the Egyptians had adequately turned toward being less hostile to a degree that warranted assistance when they produced an adequate mass calling for assistance. A later 6th subdensity united group thought it would be appropriate to aid with face-to-face direct contact. The local council approved their request for direct contact, and the united group sent a few of its beings to walk among the Egyptians and phased their etheric bodies to be visible by 3rd density beings. While trying to understand the teachings of the higher density beings, even though the Egyptian language was used, the Egyptians were highly confused and were making no progress in understanding, so the higher density beings departed after a short period of time. The difficulties of attempting to teach in this disparity of densities was covered by the Wanderer in this awareness expanding course's introduction. That was the only time this united group made direct face-to-face contact on Earth, as they decided to assist by thought form alone from there on. The united group spent much time thinking about how to proceed with effective service to the Egyptians and how best to construct the pyramids that would aid the Egyptians. In approximately 2679 BCE, coinciding with Imhotep's birth, who would later become a great architect, the structure known as the Great Pyramid of Giza was created in an instant by thought creation alone from afar by the later 6th subdensity united group. This may sound baffling to a 3rd density being, but we have stated that even fourth density beings are able to create physical objects and formations from grouped focused thought alone. Therefore, one could imagine that sixth density beings could do such with ease. The Egyptians were shocked to wake up and find a towering formation, a pyramid, that had not been there the day before. The united group then used their mind to project thought-formed beings upon the planet who worked with the Egyptians in building the other pyramids of Giza. It took approximately 1,655 years to complete the other pyramids, but the thought forms did not need to stay till completion because the Egyptians had been taught how to finish the pyramids. While these other pyramids were being built, the thought forms were also teaching how to use crystals to heal and to adequately balance out the chakras of the Egyptian priests who would act as healers in the pyramids. The pyramids that were completed were only being used by the Egyptian royalty at the time, even though the pyramids were meant for all to utilize. It was not until approximately 1351 BCE, when Akhenaten became ruler at a young age, that things would start to change. Akhenaten was a wanderer and was able to telepathically communicate with the later sixth subdensity united group, which would result in him making major changes during his rule. He decreed the Egyptians' religion be changed to focus on one god instead of the many gods Egyptians had been worshipping. Most Egyptians kept to their old ways and continued to worship many gods. The priests reluctantly followed the will of Akhenaten, but not behind closed doors, where they also continued worshipping many gods. Akhenaten made the pyramids available for all and not just Egyptian royalty, and corrected the priests who acted as healers in the pyramids in doing their role more in line with Akhenaten's information he received from telepathy. The geometric shape of a pyramid is used to collect and intensify the life force energy /prana flowing outward from a planet. Like a funnel is used to direct and concentrate liquid in a downward direction using gravity, the pyramid does the same thing for upward flowing prana. Since prana recognizes geometric shapes and flows accordingly, it may be concentrated with a pyramid and other shapes that possess the mere necessary framework. The intensification of prana is equal in an open or enclosed structure because prana is not physical and so does not adhere to the laws of physicality. Meaning, putting 4 straight pieces of wood down so they meet at an apex concentrates prana equally to that of 4 pieces of wood that are enclosed with material. When prana meets the geometry /framework of a pyramid shape, it spirals around the structure in a coiling fashion until flowing outward through the apex. Any material can be used, but metals that are not silver, copper, or gold should be avoided to ensure effectiveness. Wood and PVC pipes work just fine. Geometric shapes other than the pyramid also work: domes, circular shapes like the silo, and cone shapes like the teepee. Any structure that is peaked, circular, or rounded spirals the upward flow of prana into a concentrated coil. Within one of these structures, since the energy is concentrated, it intensifies the effect upon the body-mind-spirit complex, which makes these structures potentially beneficial and dangerous if not used correctly, especially the top half of the pyramid or cone structure, where prana is even more concentrated. The reason for having very large pyramid structures like those at Giza in Egypt are so the being inside may completely be within the most beneficial areas of the pyramid, making it much more effective than smaller structures. The purpose of the air shafts in the Great Pyramid leading to the so-called Queen's and King's Chamber are meant to provide a flow of fresh atmosphere into these chambers without producing drafts that would disturb the healing and learning practices held within these chambers. They also assist at setting the chambers to an effective temperature and barometric pressure. King's and Queen's Chamber were the names the Egyptian royals gave these chambers, but since the chambers were meant for all, these labels are misnomers. The Queen's Chamber is more accurately called the Initiation Chamber, and the King's Chamber the Healing Chamber. The chamber below the ground floor of the pyramid provides an effective resonation, so a certain vibration assists in the healing process within the healing chamber. First, a being starts out in the initiation chamber where their mind, body, spirit complex are initiated. First, the mind is initiated by knowing its true self. Then the spirit is able to flow through the mind more effectively to work on the body and initiate it. This initiation of purification allows the love and light energy of Source to flow through the energy chakras in a more dedicated fashion. This process could be seen as being reborn in that the birth of a balanced and more aware being is now entering the world for the first time. Then the being is ready for the healing chamber. In the healing chamber, the crystal is activated by the priest acting as the healer, and the charged atmosphere in the chamber offer the one being healed, with the will to do so, the needed adjustments and alleviations to their mind-body-spirit complex. In this state, the being faces itself, so their traumas and distortions come to light to be dealt with, offering the possibility of clearing and transmuting such distortions. This provides an amplification while doing the inner work, offering a potentially quickened transformation. After Akhenaten's transition /death, a little under 20 years into his reign, things reverted back to before. The Egyptians worshipped many gods, and only the Egyptian royalty used the pyramids, which they used incorrectly and so ineffectively. Pyramids are not meant to be tombs, as it serves no purpose. The original capstone of the Great Pyramid was made out of granite to ensure effectiveness. The Egyptian royalty later removed this capstone and replaced it with a somewhat larger capstone plated with material they thought to be more precious and valuable, which wore away and was pilfered over time. The replacing of the original capstone decreased the effectiveness of this pyramid slightly. Around the same time the Egyptian pyramids were being constructed, other positive higher density beings were assisting different civilizations around the Earth in their construction of pyramids. One of these cases was in South America near the Amazon River, where a later 6th Subdensity United Group sent one of its beings to walk among civilization visibly and assist in the construction plans for underground cities and surface cities with pyramids. When construction plans were seen to be understood and underway, the higher density being departed. It took approximately 3,470 years for this civilization to complete these construction plans. At the time of their completion, the instructions on how to utilize the pyramids had become slightly inaccurate, so the same later 6th Subdensity United Group sent one of its beings to directly walk among them visibly and fix the instructions. These instructions were received by the civilization and the higher density being departed. As time passed, the use of the pyramids altered, eventually leading to such a perverted manner as being used for human sacrifice, which was quite the opposite of the healing purposes of the pyramids. In the present time period, due to the shifting of the electromagnetic field of planet Earth and geological shifts, the Great Pyramid, as well as the other 57 pyramids built by or instructed to be built by the positive higher density beings, are not in alignment. They are still useful for their original purposes, but their effectiveness has decreased considerably. Due to the powerful inpouring of love and light energy coming into planet Earth because of the current space and time of your solar system, a third density being can do everything the pyramids aided with without the need for such structures. None of the civilizations given the pyramid structures reached the potential that the Atlantis civilization had, and even they had eventually abused it and created much destruction and suffering in the end. Since suffering and the lack of ongoing spiritual advancement occurred for all civilizations, it was agreed upon by the local confederation of planets that the aiding pyramid structure was not suited for Earthlings, and so such aid would not be repeated on Earth. The higher density united groups continued to work with the civilization's descendants in balancing out the karmic ties they had a part in creating. It is their duty/honor to assist, duty and honor being the same thing for positive higher density beings. Attempting to alleviate suffering is a major role for later 6 subdensity united groups. After the pyramid structures were seen as ineffective for aiding Earthlings, entities of the local confederation of planets decided to incarnate as wanderers and attempt to aid civilizations in their spiritual advancement. This could be considered the next part of Earth's history in regards to receiving aid and will be covered in the subject about religions and their origins. Aspects of the religions of civilizations that come next for Earth's history, ancient Greeks, Romans, the Vikings, and others, will also be covered in the subject about religions. But there is no need to cover these civilizations' histories, as Earthlings' current knowledge on their histories already provides a good picture of what happened in those times. With so much separation and secrecy currently happening with many factions on Earth in your present time period, Earthlings have a better idea of what transpired in ancient Rome than they do of the last 100 years on Earth. The earthly factions that see themselves as superior/elite hide as much knowledge and information as possible in order to more effectively wield power and control over the majority of human beings they have been slowly attempting to bring toward complete control. This is precisely why the wanderer from our united group, who is bringing this awareness expanding course through, has already published a book that offers the unveiling and understanding of the highly negatively oriented human being's mindset and agendas, and the constructed detrimental societal system that influences and molds human beings' mindsets and actions in your present time. It is considered 104 information that focuses on the current Earth situation that is best reflected on and analyzed after absorbing this essential awareness expanding course, which provides a spiritual and knowledgeable foundation so that human beings have an increased possibility of absorbing 104 information and doing so with a spiritual foundation that limits the possibility of a human being becoming angry, fearful, or hysterical after being exposed to dark 104 information, which focuses on the dualistic nature of positive and negative polarity that is played out on planet Earth, but mostly focuses on exposing and explaining aspects of negative polarity. After so very few third density beings graduated at the end of the second major cycle on Earth, The local council decided to allow beings from other planets to incarnate onto third density Earth for the third and final major cycle in hopes that it might change the dynamic on Earth and create opportunities for the advancement of the whole. Throughout the third major cycle on Earth, an influx of later second subdensity beings who graduated on their planet started their third density experiences on Earth, and third density beings who did not graduate at the end of their grand cycle on their planet continued the third density experience on Earth. The origin diversity of beings experiencing third density on Earth increased greatly during the third major cycle due to this major influx. The current third density beings on Earth consist of post-Maldek beings who have balanced their karma while residing in later second density-like bodies, Bigfoot, and incarnated into typical third density human bodies to continue their third density experience. Post-Mars beings continuing their third density experience. Later second subdensity beings on Earth who have graduated and incarnated into third density as human beings. Beings from many different planet origins starting or continuing their third density experience on Earth, and the wanderers who have incarnated to aid the advancement of all third density beings on Earth regardless of their origins. Such origin diversity is somewhat unique for a planet. This course is presented in video format for free to overcome book shadow banning and make its existence known. Now that you know it exists, it's recommended to proceed how this course is intended to be absorbed by book. The title of the book is The Cosmic Experience of One, an Awareness Expanding Course for Human Beings. The information in this course is more effective and appropriate to be read in book form where one can pause and ruminate and meditate on the material as they read. Besides the low audio quality in the videos and the protection from targeted spoken words and censorship, the book is a much better way to understand and learn the material. The book contains two more subjects, 104.2 and 104.3, which is my way of thanking those who show their appreciation to my aiding services by purchasing the book. Since we currently live in a broken monetary system, without your show of monetary appreciation for my services, I can't get by, and continue to perform service to others acts by writing more meaningful books. Purchasing the book not only shows your appreciation for my services and allows me to live in this monetary system, but the course's material will be easily accessible for your revisiting. To more fully absorb the material, it's recommended to read the book at least twice. You will understand why on your second reading. You can gain positive polarity by doing your part in sharing this awareness expanding course with others. Raising the collective's vibration is a team effort. We cannot do this alone. Your participation is required. Liking and subscribing are also actions that make this course seen by more human beings. A negatively oriented being learns information and keeps it to themselves so they can selfishly benefit over others. A positively oriented being learns information and wants others to benefit from it as well because they care, and they know that aiding others also aids themselves. This is true in more ways than one, as a being gains positive polarity for aiding others and they benefit again when another's vibration is raised because it raises the whole collective's vibration, which assists all, including the first being who shared. All are connected, all are one. Comments and questions will be read, but I will not reply with comments, nor like comments, nor heart comments, nor interact in the comments section in any way. If comments or questions are found to warrant a reply, the reply will be made in a possible future video. If an account using the same or similar profile picture, channel name, or my author name interacts in any of the ways listed above or other ways, know that it's not me and is a human tool working for the negatively oriented human beings to capture and twist the information in this course or your perception, or smear the messenger. Likewise, human tools may create fake accounts on this platform or others in the same attempt to capture and twist this course's information. Official sources for me are listed in the description field below. Everything else is fake.